Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. Wow, the news is moving fast and furious out of the United States with regard to immigration policy and probably upcoming changes to immigration policy and immigration enforcement within the U.S. This is coming on the heels of Mr. Trump's re-election, and quite honestly, it looks to me like they are going to hit the ground running in this new administration, especially as it comes to illegal immigration enforcement. I thought of making this video after reading a recent article from The Hill. That's thehill.com. Article is titled, Trump, quote, borders are, unquote, says administration will conduct workplace immigration raids. One thing to note about the second Trump administration, there's a commentator out there, he's an organic chemistry professor at Cornell University. I like to listen to him on podcasts and such. His name is Dave Collum. He's said a lot in the last roughly 6 months I've been listening to him that a new Trump administration, especially at the beginning, will be very different from Trump's first administration because he sort of knows where all the spoons and forks are now, meaning that's sort of an idiom to say that, you know, when you're sitting at a dinner table, you know, a super fancy dinner table and you're a country hick like me, you don't know what all these forks and spoons and things are. Well, he didn't know that the first time around. Well, now he does. And I think it's important to point out that the person who is talking about future policy or implementation of policy in upcoming weeks, and that's where we're at right now, folks. This is weeks away. It's like a matter of 8-10 weeks before we see these new policies being implemented, these new enforcement initiatives being brought online. He's being touted as the new border czar. And this is interesting because in Trump's first administration, he didn't really know how national appointments, federal appointments worked, the difference between appointments that need to be confirmed, the difference between appointments that an executive can just make and need no confirmation, for example, from the Senate. I think it's very interesting the tactic that Mr. Trump has used by appointing this border czar into the transition team while we're awaiting the transition of administrations upcoming in January of 2025. Again, if there is any more indication that they are hitting the ground running, the way that they have appointed this person into this transitory position as border czar is a very good indicator of how they're going to operate in the future. They are not messing around. Things are going to move fast. That said, quoting directly, incoming quote-unquote border czar Tom Homan said Monday that President-elect Trump's administration will crank up workplace raids as part of its broader immigration crackdown. But Homan said foreign nationals with orders of deportation, quote, became a fugitive, unquote, suggesting immigrants without criminal records but with final orders of deportation would be high on the list of deportation priorities. I think it's interesting the way that The Hill frames this, where they say suggesting immigrants without criminal records. Well, if they entered the country illegally, they were criminal from the outset. I'm tired of this framing and spin. Let's talk about the law. And the law is if you enter the United States without proper authorization and you're not an American citizen, quite honestly, if you're an American citizen, you can enter however you want because you're an American citizen. You have the right to ingress and egress, the right to travel to the United States. But if you're not an American citizen and you enter the country, you're illegal from Jump Street if you did not pass through, and I quote, a port of entry, as Mr. Homan noted in a prior congressional testimony. If these people didn't do that, then what are you talking about that they're not otherwise criminal? They are criminals, and the penalty for their criminality is deportation pursuant to the Immigration and Nationality Act. That's the law. Stop the spin, stop the nonsense, that's the law. Now, for my clients and things, look, I suspect immigration is going to get more difficult moving forward. Do I have a problem with it as an American insofar as going after illegals? Not at all. Was I very underwhelmed? That's an understatement, frankly. I was quite unhappy, frankly, with the way the Trump administration treated legal immigrants in the first term. And I hope that that will be corrected along with some of these other things in the second term, because quite honestly, the people who've been waiting in line for months and years to go through the system correctly should be treated with some dignity and respect. The people who just rush into our country effectively invading it, no, you need to be met with the full force and effect of the law at the very least. If it truly is an invasion, we're talking about a whole other kettle of fish. We're talking about retained state war powers if you're getting into that, but we're not for now. So let's leave that there. Long story short, I'm tired of the spin. I'm tired of the nonsense. Illegal immigrants need to be dealt with under the law. duly processed out and deported. Otherwise, what are we doing in the immigration system?